Hi there, I'm Nan. Today I want to share 4 watercolor landscape ideas I always come back to. They are super easy and no joy needed. Let's fill these little squares together. By the end, you will have 4 to-go ideas you can come back to anytime. My first tip for easy landscape is keep your colors simple. I'm using calm, soft colors straight from the palette, low heavy mixing. I also like doing a tiny color test like this, just to check a couple combinations. For each square, 2 or 3 main colors plus 1 darker tone for contrast is totally enough, like a soft sky mix, a deeper blue, maybe a warm accent. It keeps everything simple and harmonious. Let's start with this first little square. I'm wetting about the top 2/3 of the paper. That's going to be our sky. Then I lay down a soft blue wash. At this stage, I'm only thinking about 2 simple shapes, sky on top and a band of green land underneath. No details, no trees. Then I'm tapping a few stronger blue spots here and there just to add a bit of contrast. And now my favorite easy trick for clouds. I grab a tissue and gently dab the sky to lift out a few fluffy cloud shapes. We can only lift it while the sky is still wet, otherwise the paint will stay on the paper. It's honestly the easiest way to get fluffy white clouds. No drawing, no overthinking. They just appear instantly when you lift the paint. For the land, I'm brushing a soft yellow-green wash along the bottom. While it's still fresh, I will dab in a slightly darker green just to give it a little depth. You can see, with just a couple soft washes, we already have a tiny landscape. We'll let it dry and come back for tiny details later. Let's move on to the next square. I'm thinking about a simple sea view with a little beach for this one. Let's start with the sky again, but this time I'm keeping it even lighter. I'm not filling the whole area, just dabbing in some Prussian blue and leaving little gaps unpainted. Those gaps naturally become soft clouds at light, so the sky feels airy. Now for the sea, here's a really satisfying trick to paint it. I switch to a more intense blue, keep my brush pretty dry, and use quick light strokes. I'm not trying to cover everything. I actually want the paper to show through, because that's what creates those sparkling highlights on the water. I darken the top part of the sea a bit to give it more depth. It looks so simple, but it works every time. Then a very light brown wash underneath for the beach to finish. And that's already the whole scene. This is honestly my biggest make it easy trick. Start with the big shapes first, and don't focus on the details yet. We'll add the tiny finishing touches at the end, and they will change everything. Alright, third square. I want something misty and soft, like distant mountains and a quiet forest shape. We need a light sky to simply set the atmosphere. Just a tiny touch of yellow near the top, then some touches of light blue around the colors. While it dries, let's move on to the last square. Let's create something more dreamy for this one. A little sunset scene with reeds. Laying down some light blue from the top, and then a soft warm red from the bottom. I also created an online watercolor course for beginners. There are lots of tiny and relaxing projects to explore at your own pace. Feel free to have a look. And then comes the fun part. While the sky is still wet, I take a cotton swab and gently lift out a little sun. Just like that, the whole sunset mood is there. Now this one is dry, we can add the distant mountain. I'm painting one simple mountain shape here, really minimal. For the forest in the foreground, I'm mixing green with a bit of Payne's gray to get a deep dark color. And I'm building a forest line with just some quick vertical strokes like these. Don't forget to keep the tops a little pointy, like tiny pine trees. We don't need anything too detailed here. Just let the forest line follow the mountain shape. Now that the sunset square is dry, I will add a few curved reeds with my brush tip. I really like this moment where I need to slow down completely. That level of engagement feels almost meditative. What I love about miniatures is that they force you to go straight to what matters. There's no big canvas to worry about, just some tiny squares, and makes painting feel lighter and more enjoyable. Now let's take a little pause and look at what we've painted so far. They look really lovely just like this. You can stop here if you want. But if you want them to feel a bit more alive, I will show you some easy finishing touches. Like adding some tiny trees near the horizon, just a few little strokes with the tip of my brush. It instantly gives you a sense of scale. They make the whole landscape feel bigger and wider. And a few grass strokes in the foreground is also very useful. Just some quick upward flicks. The whole scene feels more finished and it creates depth right away. And my pick for the finishing touches is adding a few birds in the sky. I keep them super simple, just a tiny V shapes. They add movement and make the scene feel much more alive. If you want to make the painting feel more magical, you can add some soft little dots, just tiny taps with the brush. It creates a gentle atmosphere in the air and makes the sunset feel more dreamy. A few tiny details can lift the whole scene quickly, but just don't overdo it. The reason I keep coming back to these little landscapes is that they are not just one-time paintings. Whenever I don't know what to paint, I come back to these for quick color studies or to try a new style. I've painted another version of the same landscapes with tiny changes, a colder greenland, some little flowers on the beach, an extra mountain layer, and a stronger sunset. They are simple variations, but they completely shift the mood. Which one are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to explore watercolor in a simple and relaxing way like I do, check out my online miniature watercolor course for beginners and enjoy 40% off for a limited time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'm Nan, a miniature watercolor addict. See you next time!